Hey, what's up? Thanks for joining me. We're going to do a full portrait edit on this image of Janelle using Luminar NEO and Aperty. And with the recent update of NEO, we get to use Aperty as a plugin within NEO. So here is the original image. It was shot during the J&M Talent Spring Fashion Show. I was part of a team of photographers, Mark, Dennis, Scott, and Dimitri. They were all photographing the runway photos. And before the models went down the runway, I had an opportunity to do a quick few headshots of each of them. Janelle is the owner of J&M Talent. It's her agency. And I grabbed a couple quick headshots of her as well. So here's the original image. Let's go over lighting. It was a very simple one-night setup. I was using the Godox 8400 Pro in a 36-inch glow octabox. I also had a reflector underneath, so it was more of a clamshell lighting with the light above and the reflector underneath filling in the shadows underneath the chin and lightening the neck area. For the shoot, I was using the Canon R5, my EF 7200 lens. We were at 6.3 for the f-stop, shutter speed of 1/250. That's the max sync speed for the Canon R5 without going into high-speed sync. And the lens was roughly 105 millimeters. So while the image is really nice, it's not exactly what I would envision for a finished portrait. So let's go from here to here and show you all the steps to get there. First thing I'm going to do is right-click on the image, go to create a virtual copy. Once that loads up, let's right-click on it, go to adjustments, and revert to the original file. And we're working with the Canon RAW file. So first thing, let's go into edit. So if we go up to the histogram and we'll turn on our highlights and shadows, we can see the image is well exposed. Nothing is being clipped. Certainly could go into develop and maybe brighten it a little bit, but we're going to do that a different way for this so we can be a little bit more selective instead of doing a global adjustment on exposure. So one of the new features of Luminar NEO with the update is being able to edit directly in Aperty. So here we are in Aperty. Let's go to the retouch panel. We'll remove any blemishes, soften some wrinkles. There's nothing on the forehead. I'll just move that to 0. We'll soften the skin a little bit. And there are some dark circles. So let's soften those up just a bit. We could do face brighten, but I'm going to do it in a little bit more of a controlled way. So here, face brightens up everything. I want to be more selective. Eyes will increase the iris flare, little whitening, some enhancement of the eyes. Let's zoom in a little bit, see what we're doing. So everything so far is looking great. Here is a before. Here is an after. Very nice skin retouching by Aperty. We'll whiten the teeth a little bit. The next two tools are new. Lip blemish removal. She doesn't really have any blemishes on the lips. But lip smoothing, let's do that and take a look at what that is doing. If we look at a before and after, it's a very subtle adjustment. Under makeup, I'm just going to do contour and highlights. I love how Aperty handles this. This is pretty much like dodging and burning on the facial features. Again, let's take a look at before and after. That dodging and burning just adds more depth and dimension to the face. So here it looks fairly flat, and the lighting was fairly flat. So this really enhances the depth, adds highlights to the cheekbones, bridge of the nose, the chin. Everything is just looking so good with that. Eyebrows look great, but we could enhance them a little bit. Let's add a little saturation and tone to the lips and maybe darken them a touch. And then whenever I do retouching on the face, I always like to include the body so it looks cohesive. So let's take a look at before and after. There is before, there is after. So that part is looking great. Let's go back to the Essentials panel. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And right now everything is very evenly lit. I want to draw attention to the face. And the way I like to do that is to come into masking. We'll add a mask. And let's go with a radial gradient. I'm just going to click and drag. And instead of a circle, I'm going to the outside edges and dragging those in. When I move the cursor outside the radial gradient mask, arrows come up so we can twist it. I'll grab the center dot of the mask and drag that down just a little bit. And bring it in just a little bit and up just a little bit. So that is looking awesome. We'll save that mask and now we'll increase exposure and watch how it just lights her face and part of her hat. Next, we're going to adjust that mask and fine tune it a bit by clicking on the three dots and subtracting, and we'll use a brush for that. I'm going to lower the strength a little bit, the opacity of the brush. Increase the size a little bit, and I'm just going to narrow that beam of light. And when I'm happy with the results, we'll hit save. And let's take a quick look at before and after to see what that light is doing. So that's without it. Look at how flat the hat looks. And now it has a little bit more shape and dimension. And same with her face. We have her cheeks, forehead, bridge of her nose, and chin all brighter. So we're adding about 2/3 of a stop of light to just her face. And it's just making her face pop off of the image. So again, before and after. So that's the difference between a global adjustment where we increase the brightness through the entire image, or doing it like this where I'm selectively brightening the areas that I want to draw the viewer into. Since I'm happy with how this looks, I'm going into the upper right corner, hitting apply. So the reason I wasn't able to do everything I wanted to do with this image in Aperty is Aperty doesn't support layers, so we couldn't add the texture to it. The reason I didn't do everything in Neo is because Aperty excels at skin retouching. So we couldn't get the beautiful results of the skin retouching in Neo, and we're not going to be able to do this next step in Aperty. But it's great how the two programs work seamlessly together. Next, we're going to add some texture to the image. I'm going to go up to layers and hit plus. I have some textures here already, but if I didn't, I would just hit the plus sign and navigate to where I have some textures. I did enroll in Joel Grimes' Still Life class. It is an excellent class, and it also comes with some textures and backgrounds that are included with the training. However, if you don't have any textures, just do a Google search for grungy backgrounds or grunge texture backgrounds, and you'll be able to find some very similar backgrounds. So the first one I'm going to add just by clicking on it. I'll hit fill, and that enlarges the texture to fit the entire image while keeping it in proportion. I'm going to increase the opacity and then set the blend mode to multiply. There are going to be a couple more steps that we need to do. First is we'll make a texture sandwich, and that's by having an image of Janelle 2 times. We have the original image and the one that we just created, and we'll drag that up on top. If we had made a drastic change to the image below, we could right click on this and hit duplicate and make one of those copies on top. When we see the finished image, it's probably not going to make that huge of a difference, but this way we're going to be using both Aperty images right now. Okay, so we have the entire image on top. What we want is just the subject. We just want Janelle showing, not the white background. So we'll go to masking and we'll do background removal AI. We'll select human. So after clicking on human, it created a very nice mask, and we'll just click on remove. So now the very top layer is just a cutout of Janelle. If we turn off the other layers, we will see the checkerboard pattern and just the cutout of Janelle. Let's turn on these 2 layers, the one with the texture and then the sandwich underneath, and make sure we select the very top layer again. And we'll notice there's a bit of a highlight on top. The easiest way to do that is just to go back to masking, select a brush. We want to erase. I'll use the bracket keys to make it a little bit smaller, and the strength can be at 100. You don't have to be very precise with this because we do have that actual image underneath. So that's looking really nice like that. We'll go back to properties and let's just add even more texture to it. So I'm going to hit the plus, grab another texture, hit fill. And this time we'll notice that there's a little bit of a dark edge on this texture. So I'm going just to make it a little bit larger to get that part off. We'll bring up the opacity and we'll play around with the blend mode, see what we like for this one. So overlay looks really nice, but there is a little color cast if we look at her hat. But soft light is perfect. So let's do that. Let's go into masking. So this, if we zoom in a little bit, we'll have quite a bit of texture on her face as well. So if we hide this layer, we can see what it's doing. Like the texture it's adding to the hat, but let's take it off of Janelle a little bit. So let's fit to screen again. We'll go to masking and we'll just use a simple brush for this. We'll make sure erase is selected and let's build up the opacity a bit. So we'll take the strength down to 40. This way we can kind of paint over areas. Again, I'm using the right bracket key to increase. Left bracket makes the brush smaller. And I'm going to pretty much try to keep it on her hat and just kind of go over her skin area. Maybe take it off her hair a little bit. But that is looking awesome like that. We're going to use another feature of the recent update to Luminar NEO, and that is to merge all the layers together so we can do some color grading to make the image all blend well together. So right now we have 4 different layers that we're using. The bottom layer, the original layer, we have turned off. So to create a merged layer, it's actually more of a stamped layer because all these will still be here. They won't be flattened, but we'll highlight the top layer by clicking on it. We'll hold the shift key, select the bottom layer, Then right click on that top layer and hit merge layers, and it's going to create a new layer on top. And here's the new layer. It's already highlighted. Let's go down to creative section, and under mood we're going to select a LUT to tie the entire image, blend it all together with color grading. Luminar NEO has so many great LUTs included. If we just take a look at some of them, you can kind of scroll through. So many of them look awesome. I love Santa Barbara for this image. Let's go down to creative. 1960 is great if you like that more matte look. 90s, you can see a little bit more of a contrasty look. But so many great ones to choose from. Like Kodachrome 3, might be a little contrasty. Wow, so many great ones. Even portrait toning. Really like Venice for this. So I'm going to go back to creative and either Kodachrome or Grace. I think I'm going to select Grace. And there we have it. Few easy steps using both Luminar NEO and Aperty to take an image from here to something that has drama and impact. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial using Luminar NEO and Aperty. If you're new to Aperty and Luminar NEO, you can use my links below. You'll get the lowest price, and I'll also receive a small commission, which will help this channel. So that's greatly appreciated. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. If you enjoyed the tutorial, give it a thumbs up. Doesn't cost you anything, but I truly appreciate it. Until next time, keep shooting.